Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So, Ramadan Mubarak. And now that it's Ramadan, I decided to talk about something that could help us with our ibadah. And that is by trying to work on our mental health while focusing on our spiritual health. So, specifically, I decided to talk about anger management because I believe that if we are better able to manage our anger, we can focus better on our ibadah, inshallah. Okay, tip number 1, think before you speak. So when we are at the peak of our emotions, there's a tendency for us to utter certain words that we could later on regret, especially if we are still around the person or the object of our anger, like the source of our anger. So the great tip on this is that before you say anything, before you respond to anything, just make sure that you take the time to think about it first, so that inshallah we rid ourselves of doing things or saying things that we will later on regret. Okay, tip number 2, once you are calm, that's the time that you express your anger. So the first tip is that before you express anything, just think first. So the next step is once you calm yourself down, that's a time that you can express your anger. It means that you are relatively more detached to the situation, to the emotions, and in that way, if you are in that situation already, it means that you can better articulate whatever you're feeling, and then inshallah, you become more objective with whatever you are gonna say. Number 3 is get some exercise. So we all know that when we do exercise, we release that natural painkiller, which is called the endorphin. So if we release the natural endorphin, it means that we are less susceptible to pain and we become less irritable. So aside from that, it's also a way for us to distract ourselves from the potential anger that we are gonna feel, or for the potential behavior that we might manifest if you are still at the peak of our emotions. So get some exercise so that you distract yourself, you get to externalize the internal frustration that you have or internal anger that you are feeling. Number 4 is take a time out. So when you take a time out, it means that you are removing yourself from the situation or the circumstance. So it's our way of disengaging so that we don't get triggered further. Number 5 is identify possible solutions. So there are times when we already know which circumstances or situations could trigger us, could make us feel vulnerable to anger. So while we are not yet in that situation, we make a plan. We make an anger management plan or anger plan. So how do we do that? So as early as now, aside from taking note of the tips that I mentioned earlier, you can also identify the things that you have done in the past that have worked. So for example, so if you are put in a situation where you are dealing with someone who has the tendency to engage in debate, so you know that whenever you would respond in this manner, the situation gets better. So maybe you can try to ignore the person, or maybe find another way to talk about, another topic to talk about, or things like that. So the number 5 tip is devise a plan or identify possible solutions to the source of anger even before you are put in that situation, inshallah. Tip number 6, use humor to release tension. So only when it is appropriate. So we have to make sure that when we use humor to release tension, it is in an appropriate circumstance or situation. So how do you do that? So other people try to inject a bit of humor in certain conversations, if it is appropriate, so that the theme or the atmosphere will be lighter. So again, we need to make sure that it is appropriate. And then next is the reason why you are doing that is not to put down another person nor to make fun of another person, but just to make the conversation lighter. So as Muslims, we do not mock another person, inshallah, but we try to make the conversation light if we know that it could save the relationship in the process. So we try to avoid having a heated debate or something like that through humor when it is appropriate. Number seven, practice relaxation techniques. So there are many ways for us to practice relaxation techniques. It could be in the form of breathing exercises, journaling, or things like that. So for breathing exercise, how we do that is we try to breathe through our nose and then through our nose. So inhale and then hold your breath for maybe 4 to 8 seconds. So hold your breath, and then as you hold your breath, when you inhale, imagine that you are inflating your tummy as if you are inflating a balloon. So as you inhale and then hold your breath for 4 to 8 seconds, inflate your tummy and then hold it for 4 to 8 seconds again, and then release it through the mouth. So exhale through the mouth. So 1, 2, 3, 4, or up to 8 depending on your breathing capacity, and then exhale. And then when you exhale, try to create a sound so that the stress is released. So when you try to do that in a regular way, like find a specific time of the day when you are going to do that so that it becomes part of your habit. And when it becomes part of your habit, it comes in handy. It will be second nature to you to use that in case you would need that when you would need to manage your anger or even anxiety, inshallah. And then number 8 is know when to seek help. So after mentioning all the 7 tips earlier and you still feel that you have tried them, any of them or most of them, and they still did not work, maybe it's about time for you to seek a professional for that. Another litmus test for you to identify if you really need a professional help is if you know that your quality of life is already affected because of your anger management concerns. So how you do that is you can approach a mental health professional or a therapist or a counselor so that they can help you better, inshallah. Alright, so those are the 8 tips that can help you manage your anger. And definitely there are still a lot more. However, inshallah, those 8 tips could help you get started, not only for your own benefit but also for the people around you, inshallah. So that's all. I hope you benefited a lot from this. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.